Let's cross now to Benedicte Paviot in London. Benedicte, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has come under heavy fire, both inside and outside of his party, over the handling of the pandemic. So what are we likely to see in Parliament today?
Well, what we're likely to see is what we've just begun seeing, and that is that Boris Johnson, the British Prime Minister, is on his feet as we speak, opening a debate after he started with a statement. He is really trying to persuade some very sceptical MPs, including in his own governing Conservative Party. We think that there's a rebellion of about 70 to 100 Tory MPs who are against the plan that is the main plank of Johnson's government for the next step. In England, certainly, we are currently in lockdown, as you mentioned, and at midnight tonight, if indeed the government wins the vote, and we expect it to do so, we'll actually now go into a three-tier system, as we did before this current lockdown in England, but it will be a much tougher, stricter lockdown than previously. And the Prime Minister's main takeaway, I think, from his opening statement, and I'll quote him, is, "We cannot afford to relax, especially during the cold months of winter." So he knows he's got a rebellion on his hands. He wrote a letter over the weekend, then one yesterday, trying to persuade the recalcitrant MPs to vote in favour of this deal. What's interesting is that the main opposition party, the Labour Party, directed by its leader Keir Starmer, has actually decided in a surprise move to instruct its MPs to abstain, although they are in favour of strict measures. So it will really be a big highlight of what is going on in the Conservative Party. The Tory rebels, so to speak, are unhappy, and they think that these measures are too tough, that there needs to be more economic support. That's something that Labour agrees with. And particularly, they don't understand, when they have very low cases of infections, why they're in a strict tier. 55 million people will be in those top two tiers, Tier 2 and Tier 3.
So given what you've just been telling us, it does appear this vote is pretty significant.
It is. This is a very big parliamentary day. Let's remember, it's just almost a year since a very significant victory of the Conservative Party, an 80-seat majority. That wasn't predicted by the polls. It's very considerable. And really, Boris Johnson has been relying on that 80-seat majority to push through all kinds of legislation. Now, if it weren't for the Labour Party abstaining, he could be facing a defeat. So we will look very clearly, very carefully, and monitor how big this rebellion is. We expect the vote around about 7 p.m. London time. As I said, it looks like the government will win it. But it really needs to be a question of trust between all MPs, and particularly the Conservative MPs, supporting its Prime Minister, so that the population can support the next steps in what is a very, very tough pandemic. As far as deaths, we're almost at 58,000 deaths currently in the UK, although the government is at pains to underline the fact in the last 24 hours that they believe that the virus is now under control.